Previously unreleased photographs of Jeffrey Epstein's body and his jail cell, taken in the hours after his death in 2019, have been made public as part of a massive document release by the U.S. Department of Justice. The documents, running into the millions of pages, include two key reports, one from the FBI's New York field office and another from the Metropolitan Correctional Center, where Epstein was being held. Dozens of graphic photographs showing Epstein after he was found unresponsive in his cell in the early hours of August 10, 2019. One report shows Epstein on a gurney, his orange prison uniform torn open as emergency medical technicians attempt to revive him. Images show electrode pads attached to his bare chest, an oxygen tank strapped beside him, a neck brace in place, and intravenous lines running into his arm. A clear tube is seen leading into his mouth as EMTs perform CPR in what investigators describe as a last attempt to save his life. Other photographs show Epstein's face swollen and deeply discolored, with pronounced marks around his neck where a makeshift noose had cut into the skin. Further images document the inside of his jail cell, where a strip of torn orange prison fabric remains attached to the metal bed frame, believed to be used to hang himself. Investigators also photographed Epstein's fractured thyroid cartilage, an injury later cited in forensic discussions surrounding the cause of death. The FBI death investigation provides a minute-by-minute account of Epstein's final hours inside the Manhattan detention facility. On the morning of August 9th, Epstein appeared in court before returning to his cell later that day. His cellmate was removed in the afternoon and did not return, despite internal notes suggesting Epstein required a cellmate following his legal visit. That evening, Epstein made a 20-minute phone call from the shower area of the unit. An officer dialed the number for him because Epstein did not have his phone access code set up. The records do not state who he contacted. After that call, Epstein was left in the custody of two officers working an overnight overtime shift. According to the report, mandatory welfare checks at 3 and 5 a.m. were never conducted. At 6:33 a.m., a body alarm was activated. An officer reported to the morning lieutenant that Epstein had hung himself. Statements recorded later show one officer admitting, quote, "We did not complete the rounds," while another said, "We messed up," correcting himself moments later. Epstein was moved to a medical area where CPR was again attempted by a nurse after earlier efforts by a lieutenant failed to find a pulse. He was then transported by ambulance to a nearby hospital where he was officially pronounced dead at 7:36 a.m. Epstein was awaiting federal trial on charges of sex trafficking of minors and conspiracy to commit sex trafficking of minors. Prosecutors alleged he abused and exploited hundreds of women and children over years at properties in New York, New Mexico, and his private island in the Caribbean. His death ruled a suicide closed the criminal case, but ignited years of public skepticism, conspiracy theories, and scrutiny over failures inside the federal jail system. The release of these photographs and reports has once again raised questions over oversight, accountability, and how one of the most closely watched inmates in America died while under federal custody. Meanwhile, political fallout continues. President Donald Trump lashed out Tuesday at a CNN reporter who questioned him about the Epstein files, dismissing the issue and demanding the country move on.
A few months ago, you had in your office here Peter Mandelson, the British ambassador. You were shaking hands with him over a trade deal. He's today been forced to resign from the House of Lords, the upper house of the British Parliament, over his links to Jeffrey Epstein. Just wondered if you had any reaction to that, since obviously he was...
I didn't know about it, but I really don't know too much about it. I know who he is. It's too bad. It's too bad. Speaking of Epstein, I will say this. A reporter named Wolf and Epstein conspired. This just came out yesterday in the millions of pages of documents, how crazy this is, conspired against me in order to fight like hell to make sure I lose the election. That's the only thing that was mentioned about me. Now, about Democrats, some really bad stuff, but about me, that Wolf, whoever Wolf is, he wrote a couple of books, and Epstein conspired against me. Did you know that, Mr. Senator?
I did know that.
They conspired against me, so I lose the election.
Or
worse.
Before it was reported.
So that takes care of Epstein as far as Trump is concerned. But you got a lot of Democrats out there that are very much involved with Epstein. But I'll be honest with you, you got to get back to running the country, too. Millions and millions every week. When Epstein was alive, nobody cared about him. When he's dead, they care about him. But it's really a Democrat problem. It's not a Republican, it's a Democrat problem. The only problem Republicans have is that we have to get back to, number one, running our country, and then number two, very importantly, letting the public know what a great job we're doing. We have the greatest economy in the history of the world. We have $18 trillion being spent. The record was $3 trillion many years ago, not by us, by another country. I won't say the country. Yeah, please.
On the Epstein files, you talked about Democrats who were in there. Elon Musk was also in there, and so was your Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick, and correspondence that he had with him. Did you read those new files that were published by the Department of Justice?
I didn't. I have a lot of things I'm doing. A lot of things I'm doing. I don't know. You mentioned two names. I'm sure they're fine. Otherwise, it would have been major headlines.
A lot of women who are survivors of Epstein's are unhappy with those redactions that came out. Some of them, entire witness interviews are totally blacked out. Do you think that they should be more transparent?
The fact that they thought they released too much. I heard that, and you tell me something else. No, I think it's really time for the country to get onto something else. Really, now that nothing came out about me, other than it was a conspiracy against me, literally, by Epstein and other people. But I think it's time now for the country to maybe get onto something else.
What would you say to people who feel like they haven't gotten justice, Mr. President?
Something that people care about. What did you say? Go ahead.
What would you say to the survivors who feel like they haven't gotten
You are the worst reporter. No wonder CNN has no ratings because of people like you. She's a young woman. I don't think I've ever seen you smile. I've known you for 10 years. I don't think I've ever seen a smile on your face.
I'm asking you about survivors of Jeffrey Epstein.
You know why you're not smiling? Because you're not telling the truth. And you're a very dishonest organization, and they should be ashamed of you. Okay, go ahead. Yes.
Mr. President, today we heard that the Clintons set deposition dates to testify before the House Oversight Committee. Any reaction to that related to the Epstein?
I think it's a shame, to be honest. I always liked him. Her, yeah. She's a very capable woman. She was better in debating than some of the other people, I will tell you that. She was smart woman. I hate to see it in many ways. I hate to see it. But, then I look at me. They went after me like, they wanted me to go to jail for the rest of my life. Then it turned out I was innocent, very innocent.